Welcome to the Connecting Greeks podcast. We're connecting the Greek community all over the world through media, technology, and love for our culture.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Connecting Greeks podcast. I'm your host, Fotis Stamos, and with me, my co-host, Ari Kalos.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening.
And this is the podcast where we connect Greeks from all over the world. And with us, we have a very special guest, Ourania Margomenou from Margo Wine Routes. Ourania, welcome to the program.
Hello from Athens. Kalispera. Thank you for having the program. It is featured in Connecting Greeks.
It's our pleasure to have you. And I want to make a quick point. Obviously, we have a time difference here. And here it's about 5 p.m. and it's almost midnight in close to Athens. So we want to thank you for staying up so late to be a part of this segment.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's very hot, so nobody can sleep in Athens right now.
Well, here it's also just as hot, so the weather feels like it's in Greece, but obviously, unfortunately,
much more humid over here.
We're stuck inside our homes, right? But at least we can explore virtually about being through this interview. But,
I will try and make you feel as if you're in Greece for an hour.
So, Ourania, you bring a very important and special element for myself personally. That being dabbling in the wine industry and being Greek as well, you've put together an amazing program that actually puts together wine tours in Greece. And for many, many years, I've thought about, it'd be great at some point for this to become a reality. And here you are making it a reality. And I wanted to commend you for putting such an amazing program that allows visitors to actually explore the different properties and vineyards through your lens. Well,
thank you. I think Greece and Greek wine has a story to tell. And it took me many years to put it together, I must admit. It wasn't an easy task because everybody had to be on the same page on this project. So we only had examples from abroad, how it was done. But then our territory is different, our wines are different, and our culture is very different. So we had to bring everybody along, and the legislation had to change.
Okay.
Because 10 years ago, nobody was allowed to step into a winery and go around and explore the areas where wine was being made.
Was there a reason for that?
I think it was primarily health and safety.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then it was the issue of alcohol being sold. They didn't have the
licensing or permitting.
Exactly. Yeah, they were just producing. They weren't doing all the other functions. So winemakers had to change their view of their wineries and become more hospitable and change their way of seeing their business, not just producing wine, but welcoming consumers in as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about how did you end up getting involved? Like, where did it all begin for you to come to this point where you decided to put together wine tour? Give us a little bit of a brief timeline of how this all happened.
I may start with my studies. I studied in Boston, Massachusetts. I completed a degree in hospitality administration, and obviously our labs was food and wine, cooking, wine tasting, yes, and all sorts of fun things. And that's where I got my first, my initial exposure to proper wine. Back then in Greece, you would obviously enjoy wine while eating with your family, but correct, more bulk. It wasn't bottled. And wine has always been in the eating and drinking culture of a Greek trapezi, of a Greek table.
Excellent.
But it wasn't in a very organized form. So I think in the States, I came across in a more
structure.
Yes, of presentation, of the whole
approach, probably the etiquette.
Exactly, yeah, and serving and all that.
Serving. Yeah, I can understand, because growing up as a Greek American, there was always wine at the table, even from a young age. Mm-hmm. So it just seemed part of our our to do things. It wasn't something that was a ceremony, or there was no presentation, and there was no etiquette of the right wine glass we drink out of, what we drink first, what we drink last. So I know where you're going with that.
Ourania, you went to Boston University?
Yes,
I don't want to ruin the relationship here, but Forte went to Boston College, so I'm glad you're at least talking to him.
Well, I got to say, all right, real quickly, I got to say that despite the fact that, maybe it's in our Greek blood because, we're very territorial back in the Spartan days, but I did a semester at BU just to kind of, see what it was like, and it was a great experience.
It was a good school, very international.
Yeah, very international.
And and before pre-11, 9/11. So everybody's very cheerful, very carefree.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful time to be.
I miss those days.
I know.
But, yeah.
So, and I did I had to do a training course to complete my degree. So I worked without guilt at the Ritz-Carlton. So I consider the established hotels or landmarks to be...
definitely landmarks.
Yes, be my first work experience, which I'm very proud of. And then I moved to London, UK. I had the option of going back home, but then I realized that I will go eventually. So why not gain some more experience? I worked at the Dorchester Hotel on Park Lane. I started off as an assistant steward in the kitchens. And then a year after, I got promoted in the purchasing department as a wine buyer. So I spent the last 3 years of my 4 years in London, I spent them as a wine buyer, drinks, wines, spirits, cigars, everything. It was a huge operation. We had 5 people being involved in the wine buying procedure. We had a cellar person, we had 2 cellars, one for red and one for white.
Wow.
600 labels and many, many tastings. We got invited everywhere to taste new vintages. Because obviously with the weather conditions in France, each vintage has to be tested and tried before it's launched.
They're so different from one year to the other, right?
Whereas in Greece, you don't have that. See, the climate is very stable. You have either excellent years or good years. You don't really have bad years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't pay for that, to have that kind of consistency.
No. So it's not such a big thing, checking the vintages on Greek wines.
So there's a safer chance that with Greek wines, they'll be a little more consistent because of
in the quality and what you expect on the bottle. So that's where I got my more professional approach to wine. Obviously, back then, England was not producing any wine. So they were importing wines from all parts of the world. And we were very much into the scene as a hotel. We had a lot of celebrities staying at the time. We had
any celebrities you can mention that you got to meet that's worth mentioning.
I got to actually buy things for them. When the friends came over to do the London marriage, that Ross got married in London.
Oh yeah.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yes, they stayed there and they wanted to drink only water, Crystal Geyser. Didn't have.
Oh.
And it was a pain getting it from the States.
California wine.
No, it was a water bottle.
Oh, water.
But, Tom Hanks would stay, Kidman were filming Eyes Wide Shut.
And
wow.
Did any of those guests that you can remember, were any of them really into wine that had a palate that you can remember?
Not them particularly. We had more British. They would ask for special and old.
Got it. Cool.
But it was an eye-opening experience. I mean,
definitely
many tastings that I would attend, and that's why I got to learn more. We had in-house training with the WSCT. That's where I took my first class of wine appreciation. So it was a magical time for me. Those
sure
3
sounds like it.
Yeah.
Great wine. Celebrities, property, right? I mean, that's definitely great energy right in itself.
A tough job, but someone had to do it.
And Ourania to the rescue.
Yes.
So you had this great experience in London, and then from that point on, where do you go from there?
Well, I came eventually back to Greece. I worked in restaurant hotels. but I was always very close to food and wine, either near the kitchen, purchasing and buying wine. I went to Santorini for a season at the
Yep.
Vedema, and I was the buyer, general buyer, Glass Wines. And I visited some wineries back in 2000 that they were just starting, Zidakis, and Sigalas taking his first steps. And we also had, as a Vedema hotel, we had a wine tasting for our guests every afternoon.
Did you say Vedema?
Vedema, yeah, that's in Megalochori.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
a gentleman by the name of Adonis
Yeah,
Iliopoulos.
Iliopoulos. He's the owner.
I have this quick story, not to ruin the interview, but you just brought up some memories. So when Adonis had launched his wine back in 2001 and 2, we opened a restaurant with a group of people in Boston, and we actually got to bring his wine to the restaurant. We were pouring his Sirtigo by the glass back in 2001, 2002. And because of the relationship, we got to visit Vedema and stay on the property, which was an amazing story. How he basically, and unless he was joking with me, how he basically found the property by accident and bought it from a young fellow who was looking to buy a car and gave him the property in exchange for the purchase of a vehicle.
I don't know the full story, but I know that
This was after a couple bottles of wine that we had this conversation. But
maybe it's true.
in any event, it was an amazing property. He told me that Angelina Jolie
That was
stayed
the year I was there.
You were there?
Yes, I was
Oh,
there.
wow. And I would recommend anyone, I'm not sure what's going on at Vedema, but definitely a resort that I would highly recommend for anyone who wants to see an amazing experience.
It is, and it's surrounded by vineyards. It's actually built inside a
Medieval structure, right? It was.
And back then it wasn't really preferred because it didn't have a caldera view, so you couldn't see the caldera.
Right.
So it was considered a less important
because of the views.
Property, yeah. But I think they had an amazing service. They made up. They made up in the service they had.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think weren't they part of the Starwood Resort network, which was one of the few Starwoods in Greece at the time?
Exactly. Oh, they did a very good job, and they had repeat guests throughout the season. I was there for only one. I enjoyed it, but I was too old, let's say, for doing seasonal work back then. I was the oldest one of the team, but I wanted to go and see how it is.
Right.
Doing a season on an island. I had a wonderful time. I went there in April and left in.
So at that time, in that experience, did you start to notice the possibilities, the potential that Greece has from your return back to Greece?
Yes, but I didn't put together till very later.
Right.
With wine, I knew that there was a story that had to be told.
Yep.
Compared to the other stories from other parts of her. Greece had mythology, had the wine god Dionysus. We had the whole package. And then various 2000, the decade, started doing very strategic market wine. For people to know what Greek wine is all about,
right,
and why it's different. Santorini played a key role because it had the volcanic soil, it had the history of the volcano, it had a wonderful, powerful wine variety, a Sirtico, and it became the flagship.
And it had some history, right, of winemaking from thousands of years ago that we traced. Yes. So that's a great starting point. So Santorini pretty much started it all for the uplift in the reputation.
I think, and Santorinians know how to promote their story. They're really great story. They're hardworking and set goals. That's why he's doing great exceptions. Little bit of land that they had is known to every part of the world.
Right, basically. It's tiny compared to other locations worldwide. I read an interesting article statistically. I forget how many thousands of residents live all year round in Santorini, which is in the 10,000 or less than 10,000 or somewhere.
2,000 or 3,000.
And then, but the island receives over one season, which I think from April to November, over 1 million visitors.
That's correct.
That's insane. Just the thought of how many people need to be accommodated, like that's a well-oiled machine, if you ask me.
And they've done beautifully up to now.
Yes.
And they're doing great. And every year they get better and better. They never
Well,
stay put.
if I can say from the marketing side, at least here in the U.S. and Ari, you can you give me your opinion, but whoever I come across, non-Greeks, whenever the term Santorini comes up, it's always been either I've been there on my honeymoon or I took my wife there for vacation. It's like it amazes me how that's the identity that Santorini has placed, at least in the eyes of the Americans here.
Yes,
it's the ultimate destination.
Exactly. And in the last few years, wine has been added too. In that,
Well, I guess it's always been there, but it was never really. It felt like it was just part of the experience.
Yes, but see, Santorinians, being very proactive, they never sell bulk. Their wine always comes in a bottle,
Right,
with a clear name on it, and people can photograph it, can learn how to pronounce it, and then obviously when they go back home, they ask for it. Other parts of Greece still go on more bulk consumption than bottles, and
but
I think
I see it's getting better.
it is getting better. They were really good at putting their label out there to be noticed.
I was very happy to see in the last handful of years the restructuring of providing from the government the PDO, which we can talk about, the protection of regions like they do in other countries. I was so happy to see that because I think that now the rest of the world will take us more serious as producers.
Oh yeah, no, and every year we do Ourania, which is one of the biggest.
I think the
wine.
largest.
It is the largest on Greek wine.
Yes.
But now it lasts 3 days, so it's for 3 days in Zappia Megaron, right in the center of Athens. And for the last 3 years, we get a lot of foreign press. Many buyers from abroad come in and taste the wines. So it's becoming a very important international Greek wine exhibition, let's say. This year, due to the pandemic, it didn't happen. It had to be canceled. But, things are moving, and I'm really happy to see that because the Greek wine is well worth it.
Well, I have to say, Ourania, there was a moment here that was this huge disconnect where years ago, Greek wines were considered in the top list of imports into the U.S. Back in the 60s and 70s, thanks to the winery here, Klaus, made a big statement in the U.S. back then. And then, unfortunately, through changes and different reasons, that started to kind of dwindle. And then there was a disconnect. And then there was a resurgence of wines back in the late 90s. And things have kind of slowly coming back to what they used to, sort of what they used to be. But if I'm not mistaken, this is a fun fact, that here Klaus is the only Greek winery that has registration in every state in the United States.
Is it? Oh.
So back in the 60s and 70s, Ahia Klaus was being distributed in every state, including Alaska and Hawaii.
Wow. Well, it was established in the 1800s. That was one of the first, if not the first winery in Greece. That Klaus was actually a Bavarian that came with the Othon, with King Othon. And that's where he set up his winery. He really enjoyed the Mavrodaphne, the dessert wine from that variety. Which the downside, not to cut you off, is unfortunately there was mainly 4 SKUs of Greek wine from Ahia Klaus that was on every shelf. It was Domestica White, Domestica Red, Retsina, and Mavrodaphne. So the identity of Greek wines back then, just because of this placement, was most Americans associated Greek wines with either Retsina or Mavrodaphne. That's how the evolution started. All these vine growers that were selling their grapes to big companies like Tsantalis, like Ahia Klaus, like Hadji Michali, that's another big one, Butari, they started actually keeping the grapes and opening their small boutique wineries and putting their name on the bottle. Right. So they didn't just pop up. They were there cultivating their vineyards but selling their grapes instead of actually making the wine for themselves. So that's why we have smaller grow producers, let's say, because they don't have vast pieces of land.
I see. So the evolution continues. I've noticed in the last 10 years just a huge increase in the presence of new wineries or families who were growers for many years started to, with their children of the next generation, is to create a production company and produce wine. I'm seeing all these fascinating approaches in Greece that are cutting edge producers who are taking classic traditional methods of making wine and combining them with modern techniques and technology and equipment. It's as if I say we because I feel I'm just as Greek, even though we're Greek American, that we're right there with every other nation who is producing interesting, natural, and very clean wines for the market.
And what winemakers have experimented.
Yes.
They've learned the basics. They went out in Bordeaux, in Dijon, in Germany, and they came back with a basic knowledge of winemaking.
Right.
Then they started experimenting, and they really enjoy this process. They didn't just stay on the basic, 3 labels from their vineyards and that's it. They constantly innovating. And that's what
they put it together. I'm surprised how fast they've been able to take this information, the experiences, and start converting it into reality. Because for me, it's like I felt like, whoa! In the last couple of years, I've seen this huge increase of, producers who are doing things naturally. They're doing pet nat. They're doing orange wine in Greece. They're doing all these innovative ways of producing wine that I've read about from Italy and Spain and France that were happening not too far behind.
They're really enjoying it, and they're existing with indie varieties very well. So I think part of their good results and quick results is that they work with the environment in harmony. So no fertilizers. Most of the Greek ones are bio cultivation without the certification.
Correct.
But they were saying in one winery that if I put Assyrtiko, for example, I don't need to spray at all. If I put Chardonnay, I have to spray 7 times.
Right.
And
big
then
difference.
it's a very big difference. And it's good that most Greeks experiment with indigenous Greek varieties.
That for me is very inspiring that, even though prior in the last 20 years, there were wineries that wanted to include international varieties in their production, which I can understand why. But now that a lot of producers are just focusing on their local indigenous variety, is very inspiring to know that, these are very unique opportunities because these varieties don't grow anywhere other than Greece.
Exactly. And they've adapted really well to the drought, which is something that we will see a lot in, high temperatures, no water. But still, they grow strong without any stress or pressure. They enjoy that. Some varieties.
Ideal.
Yeah. Many wineries in Spain are buying Greek varieties to test in their soil because they think since they're adaptable to drought, they might be the answer to the years to come of water supplies.
Well, it sounds like we've come to the rescue again because we came to the rescue for the French back in the 1920s when phylloxera was devastating the French, was it the Muscat industry, and where Samos played an important role in saving France's Muscat business.
Dessert one. Still, Samos supplies.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, Ourania, I think, and correct me, because of that situation where Samos came to the rescue to assist France in that catastrophe, is that the French government appointed the only French AOC outside of France to Samos. So Samos has a French appellation designated to them because of the relationship.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's been documented that I've always used in my selling points from years ago of why Greece is just as a great wine producing region. But it fascinates people to understand that there was a time that Greece came to the rescue for the French. And then I think also Samos supplies bulk to the Vatican as well.
They do excellent dessert wine, great value.
Great value, because gats or dessert wines can be pretty pricey. So now, Ourania, that you've got to see the evolution, the progression, and the advancement of the Greek wine industry at all different levels. At what point now do you start to get the itch to say, this is the time for me to put together this idea and concept of putting together wine tours?
It was about 10 years ago, and it was purely egoistic. I wanted to, without having to drive with my car, visit wineries, enjoy the wine, meet the winemakers, and do all that with a minivan, so that I don't have to care about the road signs, the road maps, nothing. And then I realized that more people would actually enjoy having a carefree wine tour of a wine-producing region. And that's how it started slowly forming into my head how I will go about launching this idea. Well, I had to found a travel agency. So I have the Greek National Greek Tourism Board. I have a full license. I found the minivan owners that can actually go and take the.
So how many people fit in the minivan?
Well, I always choose the 20-seater or the 36-seater.
Wow, that's
like a full bus.
Well, you need some space. They don't always get full. I go for groups of 12 to 15 people, more like a big parea.
And it's still small enough to be intimate, but it's still big enough to have fun and enjoy each other's company.
And it's not just wine. Food comes into daily ritual where to share your thoughts, pictures, the emotion. Then cooking, the actual illustration, pita.
Nice.
Or prepare a quick appetizer to go with wine. Local products is worth it to know about. They don't really make it outside Greece, but still they're it's not just wine, cultural customs.
The lifestyle.
Yes.
Love them.
Wherever, you can tell a lot relation living in this area by the way they drink down.
It's always a good time, isn't it? It's always a good time. So you have a pretty fun, fulfilled program. So it's not just about the wine; it's about the actual, feeling of being with the locals. From the food, from the interaction, from what goes in the day-to-day life of the locals of the area, and obviously wine happens to include it. Which is very unique because most wine tours around the world, the ones that I've been to, is just basically about the winery and the winemakers. And it's, there's very little presence of food or, conversation outside of wine. But I think that rounds off the experience.
You need to share wine experience. Now, obviously, there is free time, friends or couple. It's important connects.
So
that's my take on how.
And I like the way you approach it, because that's the kind of tour that I would want to experience, because it's all about the whole package. And what is the whole package? It's about the experience with that specific designated area. So in your offerings of your tours, can you tell us a little bit about? Do you have certain locations that you tend to stick to, or do you explore outside of your area? Just a little bit about any different options that you've put together that would be into the guests.
Well, I always explore the area before put together an itinerary of a tour. So on my website, I have day trips starting from Athens for travelers that stay in Athens or around Athens and they would like to spend an afternoon visit in the Attica Vineyards, which is 45 minutes away from city center. So it is an excellent opportunity to see the one of the oldest vineyards in the world.
So that's pretty much a great day trip, 45 minutes away from the center.
It is.
And it sounds pretty fulfilling.
Yeah. And also there's Nemea, very close to Athens.
Now, can I make a point about Nemea? I'm a big mythology buff. So is that where Hercules slayed the lion?
Yes, it is. They have this great emblem, the lion. I think
Yes.
that gives them a lot of positive energy, I think, in the area. Very strong.
Every time I visit Nemea, I feel strong.
Yes, I think so. And the red, very red colored wine.
Yes.
Really blood red. Anyway,
Fascinating.
I enjoy Nemea. Further down is Mandinia, which is more known for its whites, Moscofile.
Yes.
So it really depends on if the participants want more reds or more whites, or combination. But this takes more time. It's not a quick 5-hour day trip. It will take 8 hours. But still, it's worth the visit because you get to visit two very, very well-known regions in Greece, Nemea and Linia.
Are any of these tours like overnights where you stay overnight in an area?
No, but it
Not
can
yet.
be arranged. I mean, if people have 2 days,
Yep.
we can split Nemea, go to Nafplion, do the overnight there.
Oh, I love Nafli.
Yeah, and next day visit Madinia and return to Athens. It's
Okay.
a nice mini break.
And I'm sure you have all this information on your website, social media.
Yes. I also do multiple day tours. I have the round of Peloponnese, which takes 6 days. And you go around in all the different wine regions. And there's also a 9-day tour of Ourania. Very nice too.
Not to be selfish, but do you do anything in Monevasia? Because my wife's family's from there, and I've had some exceptional white wine when we visit every summer. Well, not every summer, but would that ever be in the itinerary?
Well, yes, because it's in the circle.
But it's far.
Yes, and
It's definitely far.
Monevasia is coming up really in the last 2-3 years with
Yes.
Kidonita. That's a new discovery. With the Malvasia dessert wine that's been awarded year after year from Monevasia Winery.
We should talk at some point about a possibility for there as well.
No, it's
And there was a quick point that you wanted to make before we were coming to the finale, is that you wanted to express the importance of how years ago Greek vines made their way around Europe.
Yes.
Did you want to touch on that real quick?
I wanted to just mention that according to history, winemaking, vine cultivating came to Greece probably via Egypt, from Middle East, Egypt, and then Crete, Santorini, and it spread in the mainland. And Greeks being explorers of the sea and actually founding all these colonies in the Mediterranean basin, they took with them wines, vines, and the whole winemaking culture.
Right.
So in a way, I think Greece was the first European soil to have winemaking, and it spread its roots in the whole of Europe.
Yes.
So what people consider old world, I think Greece is even older.
I agree. So unfortunately, we need to take more credit for that.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, I think that's going to be very challenging with the French and the Italians.
Well, we need to make a stand. I mean,
Yes.
I only offer Greek tours. I don't do other European countries. Other people do that. But I'm more excited, and I want to tell the Greek story.
Excellent.
My story.
So, Ourania, tell us a little bit about how can our guests learn more about your services, how they can get information, your website, your social media handles.
I always publish the next year's tours in late autumn. So this coming November, I will have together all the prices, all the package tours that I will offer in 2021. So people can visit my website, which is www.margowineroutes.gr. And I do have an Instagram account, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Excellent.
People are very welcome, and I'll be delighted to answer any questions they have. I do put out detailed itineraries per day, on each day, what the program is. prices, what it includes, what it doesn't include, and I try to be as clear as possible.
And we'll definitely also share any of your information to our network because we are huge fans of what you're doing. And at some point, we will definitely experience one of your tours personally. There's nothing better than a personal experience as well.
I would love to welcome you back in Greece.
Absolutely. And one couple more questions before we finish off is, what's Ourania drinking these days as for wine?
I'm more of a wine rosé as well. So I drink during the summer. It's very refreshing. So I will have an Assyrtiko if I get my hands on one because they become very scarce.
Oh, hard to get now. I know. We'll send you some from here.
Exactly. Well, I love Profilero. And Assyrtiko from other parts, which is more floral than mineral.
Definitely.
So I like that different approach.
And then my last question is, any upcoming winemakers or wineries that we should look out for? Cretans. Okay. All appropriate. We just had a Cretan wine webinar.
Yeah, definitely check that out, and we'll be posting it as well as a podcast.
No, they're... in the last few years, they managed to showcase wonderful indigenous varieties. And also they do miracles incorporating in their hospitality and in their authentic way of welcoming guests. So it becomes the ultimate...
the ultimate experience. Yeah. I like that.
It's vacations, it's wine tours, it's food tours, it's everything. So I think, they're great people.
And I definitely want to take you guys up on the offer of doing a wine tour as soon as we can. But Ourania, can you keep? You said you have a 30-person bus. Keep Foti in the back, and I'll sit up the front. Is that okay?
All 5 seats.
Is there a door in the back just in case I need to jump out? Excellent.
No, I hope to see you soon.
Yes, Ourania, thank you so much for not just joining us in the wee hours in Athens right now, but joining us on our other webinars where for us it's evening and for you it's early morning, that you have the courage and the strength to join us. That for me is an honor that you would take the time to do so. We're definitely going to have you back again with us as a guest, but also to join us on the side as well with other webinars. We feel that you're very important to the whole picture of the initiative for Greek wines to make a presence in the market. Yeah. So thank you very much. I know you're going on holidays soon, so we want you to enjoy your holidays and stay cool.
I'll discover more wines for Selena.
Yes, and report back to us on what you've been drinking, or send us posts of what you're drinking.
I will. Well, thank you for having us. It's an honor.
Our pleasure.
And great to tell people I do.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So, Ari?
We want to thank you again, and everybody check out the notes in the podcast for all the links to Ourania's website, social, everything. You could find it by listening or by checking the notes in the podcast.
Thank you very much, everyone, and stay cool and stay and have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Ourania. Thank you.